If you feel pulled in 10 different directions today is the day that we talk about choosing one place to put your focus. Let's talk about it. Well, welcome to Dream Life season. This is our week 3, day 2, or 12th episode. I am so excited to be here. I'm Kimberly Cox, your host, and today we are talking about focus, okay? And I think a lot of times, those of us who are neurodivergent, we feel like focus is this like horrible thing that makes us it's either eludes us, right? We don't know how to have it, or we feel like if we have it, then we can only focus on that one thing, and we have difficulty in, like, we'll get bored eventually and we don't want to continue to focus on that thing. So we are going to talk about a way to help you focus on one thing at a time, one area at a time, and not burn out, because you're still able to focus later on different areas as well. Okay. So let's get into our Fantastic 15. Welcome to today's Fantastic 15. In our gratitude section today, we are going to talk about focus. So I want you to think, and some of us, this is going to be really, we're going to have lots of examples of this in our lives. Some of us are going to have to think a little bit more, think a little bit harder on this one. But there are surely examples in your life in the last month or two where you had to focus up on something. And because you had to focus up on something, you did well, or it was easier, or you got it done quicker, right? So I want you to think about those things. Write one or two of them in the comments that you are grateful to yourself that you focused up and were able to have a good outcome because of that. Okay, so for mine, Dream Life season is a big one for me, because in the past I would get an idea and I would run with it for a little bit, and about the time that I got burned out on it, or it conflicted with other things going on in my life, or whatever that case was, I would not be able to come back to it, and instead we would flip to something else. And so the focus that I have had on Dream Life season, because I know what it is, because I know how it's going to help people, and because it's something that's exciting for me to do, it's huge. So that is my focus gratitude. I'm grateful for Dream Life season. I'm grateful that I'm able to focus on this. I'm grateful that because of my why, because I know why I'm doing this, because I know that people are going to get stuff out of this and all of that, I'm able to come back to it even when my focus goes elsewhere for a little bit. So that is something we're going to talk about in inspiration here in a few minutes. All right, so let's get into some grounding. We're going to do some box breathing real fast here. So just some in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And I will put it on the thing so that I am not having to do the hand motions, because when I do the hand motions, I get sidetracked. So close your eyes if you're able to, if you want to, and let's breathe in. Alrighty. So now that we're feeling a little bit more grounded, we are going to talk about our inspiration piece for today. And I'm really excited about it because it's it's an idea that I think a lot of us have tried, but it's difficult because I think a lot of times we have trouble focusing on one thing per category. And so if we are trying to focus on 3 things in each category, and we have, say you have, your home life, and then you have your, self, and then you have work, and then maybe you have health as another one or something, and you are going from 4 things to focus on to 12 things to focus on. And it can feel very daunting at that point because we don't even know where we're supposed to be focusing. So I'm going to take a little bit of inspiration from Amy Landino. I'm going to leave the episode in the show notes, in the description, and you guys can watch that episode too, so you can kind of see where this came from if you would like. But we're going to talk a little bit about, we've been talking in the group and stuff like that earlier, we were talking about the 12-week year, okay? And so the 12-week year basically says that whatever, like if I say that something's going to take a year to complete, it's going to take a year to complete. But if I say it's going to take 12 weeks to complete, my brain is going to figure out ways to get that goal accomplished faster. And it may not be 100% foolproof at all times. Sometimes we do need a little bit longer for those things. Generally speaking, if we give it a shorter amount of time, we're going to work harder at it. We're going to get it figured out faster. And if we do this, and every 12 weeks, we work on 4 new goals or 3 new goals, however you want to look at it, then you're able to get more done in the year and still have that focus. So that is what we're going to be talking about all throughout the areas today, all the different little segments. But I want to give you some inspiration for this, and just to say this. When you are picking out your things that your focuses for this 12 weeks, okay? Which are basically going to be going end of January through February, March into part of April, right? So when you are doing that, I want you to think about the things that are going to make the biggest difference in the rest of the year. Okay, so it may not be your favorite thing, and you may really want to work on this off the wall thing, right? But we are going to work on things that are going to help us open up other opportunities, help us to have a better systems, have, more of a foundation, things like that, so that we have a foundation to build the rest of the year's stuff on. And I'm going to tell you this, the year is going to pass anyway. If you set a bunch of goals and then you're in that space where you get bored, you get frustrated, things happen and you feel like you're behind and then you give up, you are not going to accomplish those anyway. So it's better to find the things that are going to really make an impact, commit to those for the 12 weeks, and let's get a foundation going. And then from that space, we can move forward into building a ground floor and then a second floor and a third floor. And we're going to get there faster. We're going to see more happen when we have those focuses. Now, I know that this talks about focusing on one thing, okay? So I want you to start to think about where in your day you need to focus on these different things, because that is your key, okay? So like maybe if your personal thing is, I need a good morning routine because I want to be able to be set up for the day. I want to have that, ability to handle more because I'm more grounded in myself and have a happier, outlook on things and whatever, and can handle a little bit more. Then that is your morning focus point, right? This is the only thing you're focusing on in the morning. Sometimes we need things to get us there. If you are a homeschool mom, if you are a mom of little ones, and you know that there's a chance that you're going to wake up and your kids are either already going to be up or they're going to wake up in the middle of your morning routine and throw it off, then one of the other focuses you need to work on is how do we handle that interruption and return back? So does that mean we have easy breakfasts that we can make quickly and get back to our thing? Does that mean that we prepare breakfast? You could do that the night before. You could do that like on a weekend and have all your day's worth of breakfasts done. You can buy breakfasts that are easy, that are quick, like your microwave pancakes or your microwave breakfast sandwiches and things. But that becomes another focus point. So that might be your kitchen one. That might be your home food, whatever you want to call it one, right? If you have older kids, then maybe you can make it a combined, like I am going to not only get their breakfast ready to go, but I'm also going to have an activity for them if you homeschool or something like that they can get started on while I'm getting myself ready for the day so that they are doing something that they need to do. You can feel a little less stressed about everything. And then moving into everything, like you're in that space where because you prepared ahead of time and you did it the night before, you did it at the beginning of the week, however you need to do that for yourself, then that morning routine becomes a thing. Maybe part of your family routine is to do something where everybody helps pitch in at night and clean up, and the dishes get done and the living room's picked up and everything's ready. So especially if you are a homeschooling family, or that, or you have little ones that are home all the time that aren't in school yet, and you start to get into that sort of a thing, when you wake up in the morning and everything's the way you need it to be to teach or to start your day, and then you already have breakfast ready. And another thing I would suggest, it's not a focus thing, but it's just a thing I would suggest, is to have earbuds or headphones, like wireless, that you can wear so you can listen to whatever you need to listen to in the morning to get yourself going, whether that's Dream Life season or whether that's some music or whatever, or we do both, right? I do both. But you're actively doing those things so that you're still going. Even if you're making breakfast, you can have one ear in, one ear out, be paying attention to what you're doing, kind of paying attention to music or Dream Life season in the background, and get the things done and not feel like you're giving up and like you're okay, like, okay, I guess my morning time's over now because, I didn't wake up early enough, because that can feel frustrating. But if you set yourself up for success, then you can have both, and you can feel like you're that much more put together. And it didn't take very long at all, right? It was a little bit at the end of the day. It was helping your kids do the thing you want them to do, anyways, which is learn how to be responsible, learn how to clean up after themselves, learn how to pitch in as a family unit and, help get things done. So maybe that's something, right? But we're going to work on all these areas, and all of these areas are going to have a focused time. And then that's where your focus is, on that thing during that time. And then we can focus on one thing at a time because we've preset these focus zones. Okay. Alrighty. We are going to get into our Move Your Body segment next. Let's do this. Welcome to the Move Your Body section. So we're going to start out with some neck rolls, big rolls. Make sure you're breathing while you're doing this. All right. Another big roll. Now we're going to go the opposite way. Big rolls. That's 2. And we're going to do 3 and 4 and 5. All right, now we're going to do shrug shoulders and drop them. Shrug your shoulders up and drop them. All right, shrug your shoulders up, relax. Shrug your shoulders up, relax again. All right, one more time. All right, now we're going to stretch up. Wiggle those fingers, stretch up as high as you can, and down. And we're going to do that again. Stretch, 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 and down. And stretch, 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 up, up, high, high, and down. All right, stretch up one more time, and down. One last time, we're going to stretch, 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 and down. All right, now we're going to stretch up, and we're going to go to the right, and then to the center, and then to the left, and then back to the center. And we're going to repeat, go to the right, and then the center, and then stretch to the left, and then back to the center, and then down to touch your toes. Hold it there, hold it there, hold it there. All right, roll it back up, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. On to the next segment. All right, welcome to the Fun with Food segment. I am, again, excited to be doing this because I feel like this week, today, and moving forward is like the start of everything, right? It's the start of building systems. It's the start of showing up the way we want to show up, and we're doing it a little bit at a time, right? We're committing to a few minutes, an hour, maybe 30 minutes, whatever, in different areas, so that on the other side of things, we are consistent about things because we were able to focus for a short period of time daily the way we said we were going to, and we built that habit so that then we can add a little bit more to it, right? And that helps. So, this is what I want to talk about. We were in the kitchen, we talked about health habits, right? So, maybe we're doing the health habit thing, or maybe something that I said earlier about like getting meals set up, doing something like that kind of triggered you to be like, yeah, I kind of do need to do that, right? And that can be anything. That could be having breakfast ready in the morning, right? So that like having and you don't have to do the same thing, okay? I know from experience that if I were to go out and give myself I'm going to make an egg bake. I'm going to cut it into 6 pieces. And for the next 6 days, this is my breakfast. I could probably go with that for a week, maybe. And then I would need to change it up for sure. Or I might get 2 or 3 days into it and just be like, all right, I really don't want this now. So we talk about doing multiple different things depending on how you want to set this up. It can be anything from having 1 or 2 backups. So maybe I have a protein shake that I can have in place of my egg bake. So I make my egg bake, but I also have a protein shake that I can whip in the blender real fast and make real quick and have that. Or I buy the bottles, right, from the store that I can just leave in the fridge. And if I want one of those, I can grab it. Maybe we have one easy, like, okay, I'm going to have a cereal, or I'm going to have some yogurt or some cottage cheese or something with some stuff added to it that comes together quick, that's fast, and that's yours. You give your kids the same types of options in a way that makes sense for them. So maybe you do some mini pancakes, and whether that's you buy the mini pancakes in the store that are frozen and you reheat them when it's time, or whether you make the mini pancakes on the day before or the weekend. Those are all things that we're going to eventually have in a system. So if we are, preparing breakfast the night before for the next morning, then you'd get it all ready, you would get it set, and then you'd put it in a container, put it in the fridge or in, on the counter, wherever it needs to be, and it's done. If you're doing it in advance for like the week, you'd make 2, 3, maybe 4 servings of that per person, whether that's for yourself, whether it's you and a spouse, whether that's you, your kids, whatever. And then you have that as an option. But that doesn't mean that that's the only option. And that's where it helps, because now what was 6 days worth of food, if I go back to my egg bake, could be 6 days, or it could be 6 days and then I have 2 or 3 days of cottage cheese in there and 2 or 3 days of yogurt in there, and then maybe I have a couple of protein shakes, and now I've turned one thing where I made one breakfast, but then I have some extra different options that I can have instead of that, and I've turned that from 6 breakfasts into 6, and then 3 and 3 is 6, that's 12, and then 2 or 3. You're looking at anywhere from 14, 15, 16 breakfasts that you have ready to go, that you can make quickly, that you can, and if we do the same thing with our kids, then that's taken care of for a week or two, right? Now we can lean into that with some lunch prep, whether that's I am going to, and this is, I am going to tell you this right now. There is nothing wrong with a microwave pot pie or a microwave TV dinner to have for lunch, or a can of soup or some SpaghettiOs. Those types of items are perfect, especially if you are low on time, low on energy, and just want to have the options of those things and then get to the next part of your day, right? So maybe I'm going to make some grilled chicken that I can put on salads or in a wrap or whatever. And then I have salad mix and I have wraps with, some different dips or something I can mix it in. And I have all of that as options along with some backups that I have as options. Maybe I do the same thing with my kids, right? I have some like sandwich stuff that I can quickly throw together a sandwich, and we have some like chicken nuggets and french fries, or we have their like TV dinners or box of mac and cheese that I can make real fast. And sometimes if you really need to, you can make that box of mac and cheese in advance and then put it into a couple of different containers, and then all you have to do is reheat that, right? That can help, especially if you have those tween age kids who are maybe not quite at the age where you feel comfortable allowing them just to make a box of mac and cheese on their own, but they can definitely reheat something in the microwave real fast. And that can help you to continue on your own stuff that you need to do while allowing them to have some freedom, allowing them to be able to kind of take care of themselves, but within reason, in ways that you have allowed for. I think that buying, not necessarily in bulk, but buying like a party size bag of chips and then cutting them down into smaller, whether they're reusable sandwich bags or containers or just the disposable sandwich bags. That way, you're portion controlling too. So you don't have to worry about one kid taking more than the other and arguments and things like that happening. You pre-portion these things so they're all set to go. And it allows, like I said, for older kids, and even older kids, if you have younger kids, even the older kids could, help with the younger kids. I'm going to reheat this for the little kid. I'm going to put it on a plate with some other stuff, and I'm going to go ahead and get my sibling their lunch. That can, like I said, free us up. Whether that is freeing them up so that you can do grading for school, so that you can do business stuff, or so that you can just have a minute, right? To like breathe, and you are teaching your kid responsibility on top of that. So, those are some ideas for that. Obviously, like I said, when it comes to little ones, having the stuff and you can just reheat it real fast and put it in front of them. And then making sure that you are eating as well, right? That you are having that lunch. And sometimes we need to have that focus. We're going to have lunch as a family at this time because we're homeschooling and we're doing these things, and we're going to break for lunch, and everybody's going to eat lunch at the same time. And that not only helps you to kind of be held accountable. Like, you're not going to sit there and just not eat in front of your kids, right? So you're going to have at least something. And that's getting food into your body if you're one of those people who has trouble with that. If you have trouble with eating the wrong things or, craving different things, and you're trying to get a healthier idea, then you can, like I said, pre-make those meals. Figure out what it is that is healthy, a healthier option, and a lot of this is going to really be us sitting down this week, and we're talking about this all this week. So this doesn't mean we're committing to it. Everything has to be done, right? This is just like we're starting to step into place so that by next week, the week after, we can have, our focus areas and be ready to go. And we can start putting those reps in of doing that stuff. So maybe you are like, I'm going to make a quick lunch. We're going to eat, and then the family's going to go for a walk. Or if it's cold where you're at, we're going to go, out to an indoor park and walk, or out to somewhere, the mall, and walk around for a little bit and get the blood flowing and get yourself going so that you can come back in an hour or so and finish out that day strong, right? All right. So I want to know, what are some areas in the kitchen that you're excited to kind of mess with and either prep or plan, or, and honestly, if you're sitting there and you're going, well, it doesn't take but a couple minutes to make lunch or to make breakfast, I want you to hold on to that. You don't have to like let that go necessarily, but I want you to start thinking of things in terms of if you needed that time, right? So let's say especially breakfasts, right? If you're trying to do your morning routine but you don't end up going to bed until later than you originally planned, and so you slept in a little bit, you would have this backup to fall on, even if it's something as simple as having a box of cereal or some bagels with cream cheese that you can quickly get your kids, so that just in case something like that happens, you have that backup and you're not going to get thrown. Because all it takes is one time for a kid to wake up early, a kid to not feel good, something happens, and then we start to sometimes allow that pattern to grow. Well, my kid was sick yesterday. I didn't get as much sleep because of that. I had to wake up early. Now I'm extra tired. I'm going to sleep in. Now all my other kids are up. So now we've snowballed and we've done it twice. And when in all honesty, if you would have the breakfast done, you could be doing your morning routine while your family is up. You could give them their breakfast. You could sit in a corner of the kitchen if you have little ones that you can't leave. You could have your headphones on and you could still be going at least through the motions of doing the morning routine. So you're continuing to grow that muscle of doing it. Even if you're not getting the full benefits out of it, you're still doing it so that you don't allow yourself to fall off the wagon. Because getting back on the wagon, while we're going to talk all about how to do that later this week, this particular thing, if we can just keep it from happening, right? Just keep it from happening so we're steadily doing the things, that helps a ton. Alrighty, let's get into our first ring. All right, welcome to the first ring, where we talk all about home and family things. And today we're talking about focus, okay? So I want you to think about an area of your life in your home with your kids. Maybe it's your homeschool. Maybe it's your cleaning schedule. Maybe it is your meals, your meal situation, okay? We just talked about that. But I want you to think about whatever that area is that you're like, this is the thorn in my side. This is the thing that just, it drives me up the wall the most, okay? And it can even be a room in your house, right? Maybe it's the living room because everybody's in there all day long and they're playing and their stuff's all over the place. And, every day you feel like you're running around cleaning up after people and it's driving you insane. And you're just like, okay, we need a better system for this. Maybe it's, your kitchen and the dishes that just keep piling up and you feel like you do them and 5 minutes later you have all kinds to do all over again, right? So I want you to think about that area and I want you to think about when a good time to implement something during that day, during the day is, okay? So it can be different things at different times. If it is maybe a room that you homeschool in, right? Then after your homeschool is done, when you're done with work for that day, then you would implement a cleanup that everybody would get involved in. And that way you're not just letting everybody off the hook. Even if you're giving everybody assignments and when they get done, then having a procedure for putting their stuff away in a space, and also having things where, okay, this child is responsible for this cabinet or for these things or whatever, and everybody has to pull their own weight a little bit, right? Books need to be returned to where they need to go. The art cart needs to be, like everything put back where it goes and in the right places. Maybe it's something as simple as, we sweep the floor or run the vacuum on the floor so that where we've erased and we have all those little eraser remnants and, any pencil sharpening, shavings, or any of those kinds of things, we get that swept up off the floor, right? You can think about the things that are driving you crazy about this area, right? And then break them down so that whether that's you, if you are the mom to little ones, and let's just say that the kitchen is the example of where we're having a hard time. And it's not so much because of how many dishes there are, but it's because we're constantly going in and out of it, getting snacks, getting something to drink, back and forth. And there's just a lot of disorganization because we're trying to do it quickly and we're trying to do, all those things. So it could be as simple as taking whatever things you're going to do for snacks for that week and pre-prepping them. Put them in containers, put them in baggies, put them in something so that they are grab and go. And whether that's in dishwasher safe things that you can, okay, like we're going to have maybe apples with caramel or pretzels with hummus or something. We have our little dip cup or whatever. I love those they look like Lunchable trays and they have the 4 sections. I love those for things like that because I can do something like have 2 different kinds of dip in them and then 2 different things to dip in them and then cover them up, put them in the fridge. When we want one, we can grab one out, kids can eat, and then we rinse it out, put it in the top shelf of the dishwasher and let it go when we're washing dishes. And then I can start all over again and fill them back up. So ideas like that, ideas like I said, if you have stuff that is, whether you buy the individually packaged things and then making sure you have a trash can in the nearby area. So, okay, you eat your thing. Now you need to clean up your snack area and then you can go about your business, right? There's all kinds of different things. And I think a lot of times what happens, especially with our neurodivergent brains, is we hear these people talk about, well, I always wanted to be that mom that had like a month's worth of food already prepped in the refrigerator, in the freezer, in the cabinets, so that like I could have a bad week and it would be okay. It could be, something could come up and it would be okay. We could have appointments, things could happen, we could be busy doing stuff, and we'd have stuff that could be grab and go. We'd have stuff that, you could grab and go, but still have it in the house. And it would just make life easier. But that can feel very, very daunting when you're already trying to do so much. So you need to think about what are some ways that you can get ahead in a way, right? Or get those areas calmed down, no matter what that is, right? And still like not feel overwhelmed and it just be one focus one time of the day, right? And I like, if you like have watched or seen any of the Fly Lady stuff, they have a lot of systems that they put into place, and you start like 1 or 2 at a time, and then you add and you add and you add, and there's things that they add in there that just make everything so much easier. Like you're always going to start a load of laundry when you wake up and then like switch it. I don't know if it was before bed you switch it or something like that, but like you get a load of laundry done a day at least, just because that becomes the routine of how you do things. You always keep your sink shiny and things like that. And in a perfect world where we've like taken the time to build those habits, that's great. And sometimes that can be very doable for us, especially if we make it fun, if we make it novel, if we get ourselves little charts or little rewards for like keeping it, try not to break the streak, right? Things like that. But it's a lot to maintain every day, all day, right? And so you have to really work up to that. And I think a lot of us that are watching this show are wanting to do more than just keep your sink clean and keep a load of laundry done, right? We have bigger goals. We have other things that we're really trying to do, whether that's homeschooling our kids or homeschooling our kids and working a business or volunteering or whatever those extra things are, right? So we are working in areas of focus and then finding pockets of time during the day where we can do those things every day or every week, however it comes up, right? If you're, like I said, if you're doing the meal prep and you're going to like prep like 1 or 2 breakfast items and 1 or 2 lunch items like on a Saturday or a Sunday for the next week, That could be a once a week thing, right? And you just take that time out of your calendar, kind of, block it off. That is for this. And then you can change it up. You can do something that's a lot less time, that's, whatever, but block off the time that you're going to need for a little bit more things, for something that's a little bit more involved. And then you have some extra time that you can, either relax, or you can do something else, or you can get ahead for the week on something else. But I want you guys to think about the area of the house that drives you the most insane. And I want you to think of what the steps would be to keep it to where it doesn't drive you insane, right? Like I said, whether that's, having everyone clean up their homeschool stuff at the end of the day and having a place for everything. And then, your beginning week or two can be finding places for everything, right? It can be creating places. It can be, okay, I'm going to get these boxes for right now that we have laying around the house, and we're going to label them, and everybody's going to get a box, and your stuff goes in your box at the end of the day. We have to sometimes think outside the box, which can be, it's usually easy for us, but it can be hard when it's a topic that we have a big, this is supposed to happen this way, right? So, but if we allow ourselves to just kind of relax and go in and go okay, how do I fix this for right now? And then we can work towards the better options as we go. But for right now, just so that we have the system in place, so we start working out those muscles. What can I do right now to make that easier? Okay? And then what time of day, what time during the week do I need to block that off, and do I need to commit to? And I want you to type in the comments below, what is the area of your home that you are working on? And it could be the kitchen, but it could be meal prep, it could be the kitchen, it could be snacks, it could be the kitchen, it could be dishes and cleaning, right? There's all those different areas in that. I want you to write what area it is. I want you to write what you're trying to organize, right? And then I want you to write along with that whether this is a daily or a weekly, and when you're going to do it. Because if you're committing to us that I am going to, on Sunday mornings, wake up, make breakfast for my family, along with making breakfast for the rest of the week, and, maybe throw something in to make for lunch for the week, then when you're supposed to do that. You don't have to go, well, when am I going to do that now? I don't know what time I have to do that. You've already committed to it. Now it's just about keeping your word and doing that thing. It's about saying, okay, even if I wake up at 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm making breakfast, if I'm going to make breakfast, okay, I'm going to make pancakes. Well, let's make the whole box of pancakes, right? The whole box of pancake mix, or let's triple the batch, and then we have an extra 2 days worth of pancakes, right? Or maybe 3, depending if you're making them for your kids and they don't eat as many. So we can find ways to do that. Maybe it's, I'm making lasagna for dinner tonight, and I know that lasagna is a good thing to have for lunch. I don't mind having that, so I'm going to make a second one. I'm going to buy the stuff to make both, put them both in at the same time, make them, and then I can let that one cool, cut it up, put it into little baggies, or put it into containers, and then I have my lunch prep ready, right? But we have to think about these things, prepare, and then commit to those, so that when we say we're going to do it, we do what we say we're going to do. Alrighty, we are going to move over to the center ring. All right, welcome to the center ring. All right, this one's a hard one, guys, and I'm going to try to make this quick because I feel like it's going to be hard enough as it is for everybody, especially my mamas out there. We need time to work on our own things, whether that's our own projects, which we'll get into next ring after this one, or whether that's our own personal growth, our own personal, whatever those things are that we want to do. Okay. And there's lots of things that we can do, whether that's finding a better beauty routine, a better morning routine, a better night routine, whether that's, learning a new learning a new skill for work, whether that's, there's lots of different ways that we can take this. So I want you to think about your goals for the year, okay? I want you to really think, and we haven't really talked about goals for the year yet. Again, Amy Landino's video, I am linking it. Watch it. That is the perfect way to set your yearly goals. She works on the 12-week year. So we're going to be going right along with her on that. But we're making these things a little bit easier, I guess, a little more like one area at a time focused. And a lot of it is stuff that we're already doing, right? I mean, you're already feeding your family. You're already cleaning up after your family. You're already, maybe you're not committing to yourself as much. And that's why this is hard. This can be a hard thing for us to feel like it's okay to take time to do these things. But this is another reason why we are putting other systems in place. Because if you're not constantly cleaning up fires here, fires there, clean up this mess, clean up that mess, stop that fight, change this, do that, you have more time. And then you can take that time for yourself so that you can grow and you can have those results that you want for yourself too. So we're talking about self-focus. Like I said, this can be anything from your health, your wellness, exercise, nutrition. It can be relaxation. It can be learning a new hobby, especially once we start running through these 12-week year goals. After we get through a few of them, we're going to have some really good habits in place to where, like, if losing weight is one of my priorities, well, once I start losing some weight, I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to want to be more active. That's going to lead into being able to maybe hit a fitness goal, right? Work on fitness. And then once I do that, then maybe I'll be able to pick up a sport, or I'll be able to do something, a hobby that I want to do, because now I've got these two areas in a way that it's a system that works. And as long as we continue to do the things in the system, it works. And we're also going to talk later on about how to introduce some novelty into that, right? So there's lots of ways that we can do this. We can gamify stuff. We can create streaks for ourselves. How many days did we do this? We can create countdowns for ourselves. I had said when I started doing this Dream Life season that I want a streak count and I want a countdown, because some days it's going to feel like, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're on episode 12 already. And I've done 12 episodes, which I have not, but we've done close. And we're only 3 behind. So we've actually done 9, which is still huge. And so because of that, I'm not going to get upset with myself, right? We will have those other ones caught up by the end of tomorrow. And by tomorrow I'll be able to say we've done 15 episodes. Like, it's huge. So because of that, having that streak can help you. But if you are feeling kind of like, I don't know if this is working, I kind of just want to give up, I don't really feel anything, having we're going to do this for 3 months, we're going to do this for 30 days, we're going to do this for 6 weeks, and then having a countdown on that. If you've already made it a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks out of, say, 6, then at some point you're going to be going to yourself, I'm halfway through this. Do I really want to mess up my streak? Do I really want to mess up the countdown, or can I continue for another 3 weeks? And so sometimes we need the one way, sometimes we need the other way, sometimes we can actually lean on both. I only have 3 more weeks left in this particular section to do, and I've already done 3 weeks. So that can kind of help us to balance. But we're going to use the tools that we can to help fuel us, to help us stay on this track. And a lot of that we're going to talk about tomorrow when we talk about systems, because that's going to be ways that we can support ourselves, ways that we can keep the system rolling even when we don't feel like it. For today, we're talking about focus and making sure that you are focusing on one thing at a time. So when we talk about self, what is that thing that for you would make the most difference, right? So again, maybe that's losing weight, maybe that's exercising more, maybe that's getting more sleep. And for a lot of us, that can be a big one. And I would venture to say that this time of year is a really good time to do that. We're no longer doing the late night parties that we were in December and end of November and stuff for holidays. We are more into it's dark, it's not as warm as it usually is up here in the up here in the Midwest, but in the United States, right? Even Florida has been cold lately. So there's not as much going out. You kind of want to go out later in the day when it starts to warm up, like later in the afternoon. So you can sleep in a little bit more and not feel as bad. So sleep can be a good thing to start right now, too. If that's one of the areas that you're like, I need to work on that. Sleep and, like I said, diet, exercise, all of those things, and not meaning being on a diet, but like nutrition diet, right? Making sure you're hitting all of those nutrients, getting all those nutrients that we need so that you can fuel your body the right way. So, those are some ideas for self. Obviously, having your morning routine, having your night routine. I would put both of those together if you're going to do that, because a successful night routine equals a successful morning routine. If you set yourself up at night by having things ready, like I said, so that like in your morning, you're not feeling rushed. That's another thing I don't talk about a lot. But if we feel like we have to rush around after we do our morning routine because we take too long or we don't get enough sleep, and so then we sleep in a little bit and now we're running out of time and now I feel rushed, that can make us either feel like, why in the world am I doing this to begin with? Because I'm losing all of it almost as soon as or it can also make us feel like we should just give that up because in this, and I don't know how many moms I've talked to that have said, I'm just in a season of life where I can't do this. I'm just in a season of life where it's all about my kid, where it's all about my baby, it's all about, my preschooler or whatever. And I appreciate that outlook of, I know that this is not going to be forever and I can devote myself for a while to this. It's still not healthy for you. And so even though we are like helping ourselves by kind of doing this too shall pass and we just got to hang on a little bit longer, when you let go, it's going to be a lot. You're going to have to work a lot harder to build back up to have any of it because you're going to crash. And so if you can work in that little morning, routines don't have to be 2 hours long. Okay. It can be a write in your journal, write on a piece of paper, type it. I used to have a document in my notes on my phone, and it was my gratitude list. And every day I would go in and I would put the date, and then I would type the 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then I would type like 3 to 4 affirmations. And then I would listen to like 10 to 15 minutes of a meditation and 10 to 15 minutes of some kind of inspirational something or other. A lot of times it was Abraham Hicks, I'm not going to lie, because those are usually shorter videos. And that was it. And it was like I could do the whole thing in 25 minutes. And I didn't have to get up super early, and I still had a few minutes to breathe before like I had to get my kids up for school when they were going to public school and stuff. So I need you to like think about that. It doesn't have to be, if you're enjoying it and you're able to do it and you want to do it longer, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But just to start out, it doesn't have to be this 2 to 3 hour long, get your head right, do all the stuff, kind of thing. It can be 10, 15, 20 minutes of just putting some good stuff in your brain first thing in the morning before you start checking your text messages or your emails or looking at who put what on social media and stuff. All right, guys, I want you to type in the comments what is that area of self that you are working on. Then I want you to type when you're going to do this. Okay, so if it's obvious, like if I'm working on my morning routine, night routine, it's going to be nighttime, morning, right? And those are areas, times that you are committing to those things. So you are only going to focus on your morning routine in the morning, and you are only going to focus on your night routine at night when you are doing those. That's where we get our focus in. That's where we get one thing. And now that we're chunking these up and kind of making it okay, like this is its own separate thing. And when I focus on this at this time, this is the only thing I'm focusing on. And as we're stacking these building blocks, right, we still have plenty of time during the day to do other things. If we do, let's say we are doing a cleaning for the house, which is going to take 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to do maybe a meal prep thing. Maybe we're adding that in where we're going to, like, the night before, we're going to get our breakfasts and everything ready, and we're going to work on our morning routine. That's maybe 30, 40 minutes a day for all of it. And that's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is it doesn't take a whole lot. It takes focus. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to do each thing. You can have a few things on that list that you do that equal, having a better day, right? If that's, I wake up in the morning and I have my morning routine and my breakfast is already ready and my kids' breakfast is already ready. And maybe I even take that note if I'm a homeschooling parent and I have some kind of beginning. It doesn't have to be a worksheet or a coloring sheet or something. It could be, okay, we're going to play with Legos for the first 20, 30 minutes, right? Before we get into school. And you put the Legos out there on the table where they're at, and everybody plays with Legos, and you have that time to get yourself ready to teach your homeschool class, right? To do the things. And they're occupied and they're doing something that isn't watching a show or staring at a screen, and you can feel better about that. And then you get in and you do your schoolwork and you have lunch that's already prepped. And you, after the school day's over, everybody pitches in and cleans up, and your homeschool room stays clean, or your kitchen table goes back to being a kitchen table, right? And if we're doing these things, it doesn't take long, but it takes focus. And it takes us saying, okay, instead of me having to run around and put out all these fires and clean up all these messes for everybody, I'm going to facilitate this, but everybody's going to pitch in, and I'm going to set aside some time at night, in the morning, on the weekend, whatever, to get ahead on a few things. And because I'm going to do that, at the end of the day, all the things that I need to focus on are going to get focused on when they need to be focused, right? I'm going to have good food. My body's going to be fueled. My kids' bodies are going to be fueled the right way. We're going to have, the dishes are going to be done. The kitchen's going to be clean. Things are going to be better because I'm putting these systems in place. And then the next round of things we can add to that, right? We can do different homeschool stuff. We can add more business stuff to it. We can add a hobby or something, right? But for now, I want to know what your self thing is. I want to know when you're going to do it, when you're committing. Is it weekly? Is it daily? And if it's daily, what time, right? If you're like, I need to exercise, I'm going to commit to doing, maybe you're going to commit to doing 8,000 or 10,000 steps a day. That's great. And yes, you can spread that out all over the place. But what is your goal for really getting it in? Because if we just allow ourselves to do whatever, whenever, there's a good chance we're going to be up at 11 o'clock walking back and forth to get those steps in. That's going to keep us up later. We're going to have more adrenaline at the end of the night. We're going to want to sleep in. It's going to throw everything off. So when are you going to get the majority of those steps in, right? And maybe you say something like, okay, I'm going to walk 2,000 steps before we start school or before I take the kids to school. And then I'll walk another 1,000 or 2,000 at lunch. And now you've got half of them done. Plus you've been moving around and doing things. And then you kind of take a look at when you normally are more active. And then maybe you can tone that down a little bit. Maybe you don't need to do 2,000 in the morning. Maybe you only need to do 1,000, or maybe you do 1,000, before, like when you first get up, and you do 1,000, at lunch. And then the rest of the day you can kind of take care of it. But give yourself some type of, this is when I'm doing this thing, and commit to it, and drop it in the comments so that we can follow along, we can cheer you on, and we're all holding each other accountable. Let's get on to the third ring. Well, welcome to the third ring. We are almost done with another episode. I'm going to change shirts after this one because I don't feel like you guys seeing me in the same shirt for a week. So, I digress. We are getting into the business ring, business passion projects, volunteering, all the things. So I want you to think about a goal that you have for your business, a goal that you have for volunteering or for your passion project, right? Whatever that is. I want you to think about that goal. Okay. And maybe it's something as simple as, I know there's a lot of us in business that are in business, but we are not getting paid the way we want to. So maybe it's, I want to make my first sale the way I want to make it, right? So maybe it's in groups. Maybe it's in, you're going to do coaching, or maybe you're going to create a course or a book. What way do you want to be paid? Or if you're a volunteer somewhere and maybe you're like, okay, I really want to be able to branch out and volunteer more. I want to volunteer at more than one place. I want to have a schedule. I want to be able to consistently volunteer, right? Maybe right now it's hit or miss and you're just kind of volunteering when you kind of, when the need arises, but maybe you're like, okay, like I feel really good about volunteering and I want to volunteer twice a week or something like that. And if my kid's school doesn't, like my kid's class doesn't need it, maybe I can, offer to volunteer with another class or, for the school in general somehow. So whatever that area is, I want you to think about that goal that you want. And I want you to think again, whys are important. We need that why so that when we don't feel like doing the thing, we still know why we're doing it, and it gives us more of a reason to hold on. Okay, so now that we have the item that we want to do and we have the why for it, I will just say mine. Mine is to get these groups up and running and have my first 5 paying members in a group. It can be in any group, all of the groups, whatever. I'm not going to be like, it has to be this group and whatever. I'm not going to be that detailed about it, right? I just want 5 bodies in a group that paid me to be there, because I feel like the amount of what I'm going to be creating and giving to people is worth being paid for. And I am doing it for my own family anyway, but that also gives me the backing of okay, other people like this, other people want this. I'm on the right track. And I know I don't need the validation, but let's just face it, sometimes we like that too. So that's just another added layer to the why. So that is what I'm doing, my why, obviously, because, well, honestly, one of the things is because I want to be able to self-sustain, support my family. I don't want to have to rely on any kind of government assistance. I don't want to have to rely on any kind of, and I'm very grateful for all the programs and all the things I have out there that are helping us to do what we're doing. But I want to be able to do it on my own, and I want to have the money to be able to go do things when we want to, and be able to have vacations and do things. We have a lot of trips that I want to do this year. And so every step, every person who is going to, subscribe to, the Neurocircus channel, every person, like all of those things add up and help us to get to that big goal. So that is my why. Now we're going to look at what it's going to take to get that why. Okay. So Dream Life Season obviously is what I do. That's my 5 days a week. I do my deep dives on top of that. That's putting out 8 videos a week on YouTube. Okay. When you think about that, that's a lot of content coming out. It's a lot of content that I am giving to you guys for free. And I am very, very glad that I get to do that. However, that's part of the reason why I want to get people into these groups so that I can work more directly with people, so that we can really start to go deeper into the things, right? We're going to have challenges inside of the groups. There's going to be prizes for people who commit and actually follow through with things. I believe that gamification is everything. And sometimes we can try to gamify things ourselves, but it doesn't always work. If you are running low on funds and you're over here going, okay, like I would love to be able to say, if I do this all this week, then I get this thing, but maybe that's just not feasible to do every single week. So now I do it sometimes, but I also know when I'm not going to have the money. So now I'm not going to put forth the effort, maybe, right? And so having a secondary thing, something else that kind of comes in and says, hey, like you're worthy of this, and I see you and I appreciate you, and you're going to get a prize because you did amazing and we love you. And that is one of the things that I love about being able to do gamification in my groups. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited that I can like kind of launch this in this space. And it's all very exciting. Okay. It really, really is. So one of the ways that I am going to get things out there is by going off of YouTube, right? And making little snippets of these shows like visible to TikTok, to Instagram, to Facebook, to places like that, so that other people on other platforms can either come over here to YouTube to watch, or if maybe they're not, maybe they don't want to watch the whole, like I know that I'm giving you guys the things that I want, right? I'm giving you guys the inspiration, the motivation, the gratitude, the grounding, all of the things in the beginning. And then we get into some really niche neurodivergent tips and tricks and things to help you guys throughout the week in weekly themes and things. But maybe that somebody doesn't want to watch a whole hour-long episode, right? And sure, they can come over and eventually I'm going to have chapters on things and they can come and they can watch what they want of it. But maybe they're like, I would rather just be in the group because I'm going to pay for it, but I'm also going to get the group itself. I'm going to have more accountability. I'm going to make more friends. I'm going to build community over there. And I don't have to just watch, I can participate because a lot of times that's what we need, right? Like watching is great. And a lot of times I created this because I didn't want to have to watch Good Morning America and things like that all the time because they have so much news and so much political stuff. And there's so much where I could start to get frustrated and feel that not good feeling of like what is going on out there. And so I created Dream Life Season as having all of the things that I need in the morning that I can tune into, that I'm still getting, like maybe a recipe or something about food, something about home, something about maybe beauty or fashion, depending sometimes. I'm still getting those tips and those things, but I'm not having to deal with the news aspect of it. So that is why I created Dream Life Season. Dream Life Season is obviously a the free show that leads people to work with me. It's how I show people who I am and how you can work with me. And so then people can get into the groups, and then maybe they're like, okay, I would much rather just be in the group because now I'm able to do the challenges. I'm still able to learn the things that I'm learning in Dream Life season, but I've got accountability. I'm making friends. There's all this like friendly competition going on if you want it, and there's prizes and all that kind of stuff. So again, I get that out there by putting little snippets of that in other places, and then people come back or they come to the group and they join. And then the other side of that is I have to deliver what I say I'm going to deliver. So I have to have a set of things that I am delivering and be able to deliver on that. So you may go, this sounds like a lot more than just one focus. And you are in a way correct. So that is why I am chunking out my time. Dream Life season is going to be little snippets from Dream Life season are going to end up in the group when I talk about certain things. I will also add little tiny videos here and there to talk about the challenges and the different things. And then on my off days that I'm not recording, I'm going to be creating the group work that goes into the groups on the monthly basis. So that looks like creating, like I said, like February's is so exciting because it's talking about romanticizing things and how can we find the good, the fun, the pleasurable in things, right? And so it's one of those things where it's more of the fun side of things. It's more of adding fun to things, figuring out how to make things more fun, how to make them more enjoyable, how to take some of the stress off of things that are stressful. And because of all of that, and then because of being in the group and like having the things that are in the group, it's going to obviously make people excited, want to be there. They're going to have fun. They're going to be able to take mundane, boring things and make them more pleasurable. They're going to be able to take some stress off of some things, and they're going to be able to find those things where they're like, this is something that feels a lot like this other thing that I want. And so if I lean into the feeling I get on this and I kind of just let that thing go, I'm feeling those feelings that I want to feel. And it's going to bring more of those good feelings to us. And then we start to snowball the good feelings things. We start to snowball the opportunities. We start to snowball all of the romanticized stuff to us. So I am giving myself little pockets and little areas of time and saying, okay, like I've already set up the whole year. Okay. So now all I have to do is a couple weeks in to the month, I look at it and I go in and I create my 5-day challenge, which is dropping next week. Next week, we're going to have our 5-day challenge, which is going to lead into the groups. It's going to be like your kind of precursor. You're kind of like, okay, we're doing this challenge in the free group, and it's giving you a little taste of what's going to be coming in those groups. And then we're going to be able to build on that. So I'd get that part done, and then I start working on like week 1 and week 2 stuff. I get those done. I could take a break for a day or two, and then we get working on the 3rd and the 4th week. And then by that second to last week, we're starting to work on the next one. And because I have that in order, the way that I'm doing it, and I know what comes next, and I know where we're going from there, yes, it can feel boring, but also ultimately it's just like putting one foot in front of the other. Sometimes it's boring driving through cornfields of Indiana, but if you know where you're going and you know that if you just keep driving through them, you're going to get to where you need to go, you have to put up sometimes with a little bit of mundane. And then again, how do we make that mundane a little bit better? How do we make streaks? How do we make, different things like that, right? So we're going to add in all of those tools tomorrow to help us stay in that good space, to help us want to do all these things. But like I said, what is something in your business, in your passion project, in your volunteering, whatever, where you're like, this is a goal that I really want to achieve in this area. And this is like, is it daily? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? And then I want to know when you're going to do it. Okay. When are you going to commit to creating the thing? When are you going to commit to doing, you know, talking to the people or going to volunteer or whatever? And maybe if you need to, if things aren't the way you need them in the moment, what does your schedule look like for getting them that way? Okay. So for me, that looks something like we got a little bit behind. And so I'm catching up in the next couple of days. And then what do I need to do over, like, say, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to not only keep everything going on this, but also to get ahead, to get that. And a lot of that looks like Thursday is my one day that I have off, right? But I'm still working. It's just off of recording. So Thursday's a day that we're going to go in and we're going to look at all of the requirements for the challenge and we're going to get that all situated and set up. We're going to figure out if I need to create worksheets and what that looks like and what days I need worksheets for. And okay, do I get a couple of days done? And then, Monday I have another day that's no recording, but office work. So if I can get on Thursday, if I can get stuff done for Monday, Tuesday, then on Monday I can get like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday done, right? And so having that in mind and then writing it down. That's another thing. You can type it in the comments here, or you can just write it in your notebook. Like, these are the days that I need to do these things so that I can have what I want, right? So that I can continue to do these things. And then if you know what's required of you, you know that on this day I have this stuff and on that day I have that stuff. There isn't a hesitation when you're trying to get ready to work of, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. Am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? Like, you already know what the plan is and you just go in and you work the plan, and before you know it, you come out. And if we consistently do this, if we're rewarding ourselves, even if it's just a clap, a pat on the back, being able to tell people, look, I did 15 episodes in 3 weeks. I did 15 episodes in 3 weeks, and then I did 3 deep dives per week. So that's another 9 videos. Think about that. That's 24 videos in 3 weeks. That's crazy talk, but I did it. I got it done. And because I got it done, I can celebrate. I can be excited. And then we take that minute, we are excited, whatever, and then we move on and we go on to, okay, what's the next thing that I need to do, right? Celebrate, definitely. Don't ignore the celebration, but don't overly celebrate and give yourself a week off and all of this stuff. Get back in. Okay, I did this part. Now, what's the next part? What does it look like to continue to go down this path of being focused on these things, right? I can focus on doing a morning routine for 2 weeks straight. But if I decide, okay, well, I'm going to sleep in and not do it for a day, it's going to be harder for me to get back on there to do it again. So I need to celebrate, get excited. I can tell people, I can, kind of give myself a pat on the back, tell people what I've done, but then tomorrow I need to wake up and do it all over again and continue to do it, continue to build that muscle until you don't even realize you're doing it, you just do it. All right, guys, let's wrap this episode up. We got 2 episodes done today. My goodness. I know I did that in the middle of, or at the beginning of the last segment, because for some reason I was thinking it was the wrap up and it wasn't. It's okay. It's all right. This is what happens when we batch, right? Sometimes we get a little loopy on what time it is, what day it is, where we're going, what we need to do. We're getting there. So I'm so grateful and so excited that you guys were here, that you guys saw this. This is like, I said the other day that it was one of my favorite episodes because I don't even remember which one it was now. But this is the episode where we start to lay the foundations. We start to actually set the goals. We start to actually put the focus on what we need to focus on, and then give it a time of day, give it an amount per week, give it those definite things where it's like, okay, I need to do this 5 days a week, I need to do this 7 days a week, I need to do this once a week, so that in our heads we can go, okay, like as long as I do this once a week, every week for the next 6 weeks, I won. And maybe that's what it is, right? I need to prepare breakfast and lunch, on a Saturday or a Sunday every week for the next 6 weeks. And I won. I won that challenge. Or maybe it's I need to focus on, my night routine and my morning routine every single day for the next, 7 days a week for the next 6 weeks. And that might feel overwhelming, right? You might feel like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm so tired at night. And I will tell you this is like a side note on all of this. If you're talking nighttime routine, it's the hardest the first couple of times because you are tired, because you haven't set yourself up during the day to have the kind of day that you need for that night to feel easier. But once you do it a couple of times, and then that sets your morning up and you're not as frazzled all day long because you had a good morning routine, even if your morning routine is with your kids, even if you're all doing it, right? Maybe you are, listening to an audiobook or doing a read aloud where you're letting an audiobook play while you're having breakfast and whatever, but you're starting on that slower path of like, okay, I'm gonna let the kids color and we're gonna just sit and kind of wake up, relax, have our breakfast, do all these things while this like book is playing in the background, right? And if we are doing that consistently every day, it's going to start to become something we look forward to, right? I don't have to start the day rushing around and hurry up, get everybody this, hurry up, get everybody that, hurry up, get this work done, hurry up, get that work done. But we can start slower, and then we can gradually work our way into getting work done, and we can get work done. And then because everybody's helping clean up, we can clean up together, and then we can move into the next, whatever the next segment of the day is, right? But I want you guys to really think about this. The more we're exercising these muscles, the more that we're doing this, the more focus we put on each area when we're supposed to do it, the easier it's going to be to start to just become a habit. And once it's a habit, it's going to be a lot easier to get back on board if we have a day where we fall off. Let's say we go on vacation for a few days and we're like, I'm not going to wake up in the morning and do all this stuff. Maybe I still do somewhat of a morning routine, right? I wake up and I, go, sit outside, or I go do something and, have that little bit of time to wrap my brain around the day. But maybe I'm not going to make my kids do it. Maybe I don't need a morning or a night routine because I don't need a morning routine because we're all going to get up and go to breakfast at the same time, right? And somebody else is cooking and somebody else is cleaning. And that's great. But if you're consistently doing that stuff, when you come back to the environment that you're used to doing that stuff in, you may have to force yourself the first couple of days, right? But you remember what it was like before you did it, and you remember what it was like after you started doing it, and your brain will start to go, we want to go back to that old way, or that one way of doing things where everything worked out and it was easier and everything kind of felt like it was on autopilot. So let's do the work for a couple of days to get back into that flow, and then let's do it. All right, guys, I hope y'all have an amazing day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.